You're listening to Paris: A State of Mind on Paris Underground Radio.
Welcome to Paris: A State of Mind. Join us as we talk about the good, the bad, the ins, the outs of property rentals and purchases in and around Paris. We'll have topics for renters, owners, and visitors, share questions we are regularly asked, and more. My name is Gail Boisclair of Perfectly Paris, and my co-host is Marie Pistinier of Lokim Paris. Be a part of it. Both of us are proud members of the SPLM, the first representative body of furnished rental professionals. Hi, Marie. How are you doing today?
Hi, Gail. I'm doing very fine. Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. As always, I'm busy, but I've been thinking about all kinds of stuff that we've been talking about in our podcast, and I thought it would be a good idea for us to do a whole series about managing your vacation rentals, your holiday let, because we've touched on a lot of things, but we haven't really done any of that. Do you think that's a good idea?
Yeah, sure. Especially as you are one of the specialists of the vacation rentals. And yes, and there's a lot of things to do and to consider when you are renting up your property, actually, for short stays in particular. So there are things that you think that it's obviously that you have to have them, but some other that may not. Of course, we know that the apartment needs furniture, so this is like the first thing to start with. But what else would our clients needs?
Oh my goodness. Well, there's so much. And that's what we'll talk about today is setting up a property for short stays. So this will be part one. So obviously, in addition to being furnished, you need to make sure that the kitchen has all the dishes, cutlery, glasses, cooking equipment, and more that you would need to make a meal. And you can't forget about things like cutting boards, a knife sharpener, a wine opener, especially a wine opener, and all of these things. So I think when you're setting up all of these things, the kitchen, for example, which is really important because that's the advantage of having an apartment rental versus a hotel, is you can cook for yourself. Make sure that it's user friendly, that you do have those things that you need. And if you say in your listing for your apartment that it can sleep 4 people, make sure that there is enough of everything for at least 4, if not more. I normally suggest that you have double of everything. So if you say your apartment sleeps 4 people, have everything you need in the kitchen for 6 or 8, because you also don't want your guests to spend their entire time washing dishes because there's 4 people, but there's only 4 plates and 4 forks and 4 cups, and so on and so on. Our listeners might want to refer to episode 3 of our podcast when we talked about some of the differences between setting up a furnished or unfurnished apartment.
Yeah, so you do mean like you don't put in the apartment like the old pans you used to cook with that is no longer really nice, but you put it just in case.
Oh, it's true. It's like sometimes like that and other things. Sometimes I've seen like I don't know, I look at a pan and I wonder if somebody picked it up on the curb, that somebody left it out with the rubbish or something. I mean, it's like gosh, yeah. If you don't put in quality, it doesn't have to be expensive, it just has to be good, then you can't expect that it's going to be something that'll last or that somebody will treat it correctly either.
Yeah, so you do have to consider that you invest and you have to consider that you may need to replace. And but I think that sometimes people forget some of the item, especially the wine opener. So it's like a must do, especially. But what about the house linen, towel, sheets, and all the thing like that?
That is very, very important. And it will depend on whether you're going to work with a company who provides a linen rental service or not. Personally, I think using rental linen, I speak English, is better because it's really expensive in France to purchase sheets and towels that are good quality compared to a lot of other countries. And then when it's your own items, you have to consider how is it going to be cleaned and the turnaround time for that, because the washing machines are small and the combination machines in terms of drying are not very efficient for drying a big sheet. for example, it's going to come out completely wrinkly. So if you're washing it in the apartment, it's going to use up a lot of your cleaning person's time. And then once everything is dried, it's going to have to be ironed and pressed so it doesn't look like somebody slept on it. And also, it's just, if you factor in the amount of money that you would save for a cleaning person's time to wash all of that versus the cost of linen rental, I think linen rental is better.
Yeah, so same for the kitchen items, that you don't put the old linen that are good with no hole in that, but it's still like the old linen and things. Sometimes when I used to do some vacation rentals, owner was saying, okay, I have some spares that I put there, so everything is like not matching, like
Oh
the
yeah.
things.
It's totally that. I mean, I've seen it. Like one green pillowcase, one pink pillowcase. Here's a purple sheet, and here's a gray duvet cover.
Yeah, so color block can be interesting and fun on picture, but really you can't. You really, it's the same. You have to have some quality and to make sure that it's going to be. The clients are going to expect like the minimum quality needed, and there's nothing worse than seeing, for example, you were talking about washing your own linen on site, especially when you do that on your own, or asking your cleaning person to wash the linen and to make it dry on site and then to iron it on site. It's going to be time consuming, and so when she can't, then when you have a bed which is wrinkly, like you think that someone else slept in the bed before you arrive as a guest, it's
Totally.
like the worst thing you can imagine.
But you don't know. Yeah, you don't know. I mean, I have seen how sheets come out of a combination dryer, and I don't know. For me, they look like somebody probably slept on them. So that's the thing. It's like, I don't know, ditch your worn out linen. I'm sure that there's associations that need something. You see somebody sleeping on the street, give it to them. They probably can use it to keep warm. Don't use that worn out linen.
And for you were mentioning the rental services to get your linen. Probably in medium and large cities, it's easy to find out for this kind of company. You can also look for the company who are who are doing that for hotels. Like there is some famous name. We are not going to give brands, but who could do the same for you. And you can ask also maybe to your dry cleaner. Maybe they would be okay to provide you with some basic linen that they could give you, and you can drop that to them. Because one of the things that we have to remember, that when you do a check-in and check-out like on the same day, you cannot expect the guest to accept to have like linen hanging in the apartment when they just check in. So you do have to consider to have it to do it the more professionally as you can.
Exactly.
And speaking about the linen, what is the amount of linen you do need? We talk about the dish sheet and everything, but for the linen, what do you do?
Well, I really always think that you have to be prepared and you need two of everything. You need two full sets for every bed or sofa bed if you have a sofa bed. And that also includes pillow protectors, mattress protectors, etc. Everything needs to be in duplicate. That's the minimum. You never know if somebody might have an accident, and you also can't leave the same pillow protector and mattress protector on a bed forever and never take it off and clean it. I mean, everything has to be cleaned on a regular basis. So it's a big outlay in quality linen because you really do need two of everything minimum per bed.
Yeah, so it's like kind of investment from the beginning. And so you do have also the duvets, the blankets, and more of that. So this would be one of the investment. And what would be the other costs that you have to consider when you put your apartment on the market? Do we have some?
Yeah, tons. 5,000. No. Maybe less. Yes, you've got it furnished. You've got double of everything for your dishes and for your linen. Well, the other costs that you have to factor in are your utilities, your electricity, gas, if you have a gas heater.
Because this is going to be included when you do a vacation rentals in particular. It's going to be included, right?
Right, absolutely. You're not going to say, hey, buddy, thanks for coming for a week. We're going to calculate your electricity for the week and we're going to calculate your gas for the week. It seems kind of chintzy. And then there's the telephone, the internet, all of these things. The good thing about internet, cable, TV, and telephone is that we're really spoiled in France. You can get great deals for 30 to 40 euros per month that include free long distance calls, cable TV, and high speed internet. I think that's not the case in a lot of other countries. I know in Canada it's a lot more expensive, and the US as well too. So that's an important cost. Sometimes I even have owners saying, "Well, why do I need a phone like a landline?" I agree. I personally don't use my landline, but there's a lot of people still that might not have a phone that's say a non-European phone that works correctly here, or they might not have a phone plan that allows them to make reasonably priced phone calls from their phone. So having a landline telephone doesn't cost any extra. All you have to do is plug it into the box that is your internet box, and if somebody has an emergency, they can pick up the phone and you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, and that doesn't help you from telling them that some of the numbers are not allowed, like the special numbers that are with the very high rates when you call them. Same for the electricity and gas, not the gas in particular, but the electricity, for example. Even though it's included, you can make some tips and tricks when you check in, and to remind people that it's good to turn off the electricity when you leave for a long time. That you don't let the windows open with the electricity the heaters at the maximum or thing like that. Like it sounds like basic, but it's good to remind to the guests that this is the kind of thing that they have to pay attention to. You may even say that if it's really too high, we may charge you in case of making them a bit responsible for. No, but this is something that you could say. And of course,
We
one of the costs that you should have to add would be the insurance that we mentioned already in 2 episodes, numbers 13 and 14, if I will remember.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I do remember, and you're right, it was episodes 13 and 14 about insurance. We know, though, that owners need insurance, but also like someone coming for a short stay in Paris, I think a lot of people don't realize that they need insurance too, don't they?
Yes, of course, and we always need to be insured for any reason. For example, if there is usually two portion in the insurance, especially if you take a travel insurance. The first portion would be like if you have any emergency, any disease just right before you leave or while you are here. If you do have the cancellation portion of it, you may be covered for that. And not only it will cover eventually the fact that you have to go back to your country, but it may be also reimburse you for the down payment you made, for example, depending on the type of insurance and the company you work with. So it's important to see to see all the details before you book your trip. Sometimes you are also insured with your own. I know that in France, for example, when you have a home, like a primary home, and you book like a secondary home elsewhere in France, for example, usually you do have what we call the assurance villégiature, which means that you will be also covered for for the things, not the cancellation, but for the things and your liability in this second thing. I think it's not something very common in other countries. I know that a lot of American guests, for example, don't have this kind of double insurance inside their own home insurance, but it's important. And the liability is important because that means that if you cause something, not on purpose, of course, but for example, the bathtub running accident and accidentally cause like a major leak. And I think we mentioned that already, like the worst case scenario for agent would be to have a lot of leaks. But this is so you will be responsible, and with your insurance you will be covered for the cost of that. So it's really important to make sure that you are insured when you book your thing, because it can be also we mentioned that yes, you put some you talk about the wine opener. Let's say that you don't have the correct wine opener and you use something and beam, you put some wine on your couch. then you do have to pay for some of the things. And if you have the proper insurance, you will be covered for being a bit having the hand shaking shaking a bit too much, for example.
If you're enjoying this episode of Paris, A State of Mind, you may also be interested in our sister podcast, Navigating the French. Join Emily and an expert guest who take a deep dive into a word that helps us better understand the French. Paris, A State of Mind will be right back after a word from our sponsors. And now back to Paris, A State of Mind. I was at a friend's place once and we did open wine, and it wasn't in France, but and it wasn't a vacation rental, but still it would be this particular case that I slipped and I fell with a glass of wine and I fell into a glass table. I literally did, and it shattered everywhere. And so
Wow.
people had to pick me up out of this glass table, and I don't even know what happened. But I mean, imagine if that happened at an apartment rental, then yeah, you would be insured for that. And
Yeah.
well, then if you had to go to the hospital, hopefully you'd be insured for that too. I
Yeah.
didn't have to go to the hospital though.
Luckily, no, by chance, but it's true that you do have to be covered. Sometimes we think we are over insured, like we have the credit card insurance. For example, I know that depending on how you book a place, if you use your credit card, depending on your bank type of insurance they do provide, they may cover you for some of the things. So it's something that you really, especially when you go abroad, it's really something that you have to consider before. But you do have in France, you are supposed to, unless the owner is taking the insurance for you, but you are supposed to check in with an insurance, whether it's a vacation rental or a classic rental for a few months or a year or more. So our listener may not know, because we didn't talk that much, that Gail, actually you are a professional running vacation rentals for owners. So it's been everything that we could say, that you could say have been like years of experiences with clients requesting high quality stay, even though they don't pay, even though if the apartment is like not that expensive, people more and more are requesting to have like a top notch stay. And so of course, like little details like bad linen, like items missing, bad internet connection. It's really what can ruin their vacations. And they actually say to you that you are running my holidays. It's like it's something very important to follow. So you do have to really make sure that every little details will be at the maximum that you can answer quickly to your guest. And if you don't, then it's your credibility as an agent, as a service company, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, honestly, it may seem trivial to us, but okay, so the cable TV isn't working. It's not that somebody's came to Paris to watch cable TV. Well, let's hope they didn't. But to be honest, maybe there's somebody elderly, or they have a young child and they have to entertain the young child, or the elderly person ends up staying at home while the person's going out. The younger people are going out to explore. That actually could ruin, for example, that old person stay. And I mean, so somebody can call you, the cable TV is not working. So, I mean, you have to check everything. You have to make sure things are working. You have to provide the best service that you can for the people.
Or solution, sorry to interrupt you, like solution, like something is not working, so what can you
Yeah.
do? What can
Yeah.
you send them? Can you bring them like an alternative way of getting the TV? Can you do something for the internet? The internet is like a must, and the high quality of internet has to be a must. You cannot provide like with a poor one, when people sometimes have to work, like the work is, it's what, like the workation, like when you work and you're also in vacation, so you do have to provide that.
Yeah, totally. And I don't think sometimes people understand how important it is. And that's why it's really also very important that when you do vacation rentals, you regularly check and inspect the apartments to make sure that things are working. If you're the one doing the greet, or somebody else is greeting the guest at the apartment, don't arrive at the same time as the guest only to find that something is not right, or the apartment isn't set up correctly. I mean, I'm a pain in the butt. I'm the world's worst person to go to an apartment before I check in, because I always find something that I don't like. And if I go an hour before, then I'm going to spend an hour rearranging something. Even if it's my own apartment, I'll do it. I'm crazy, neurotic. But it's important. You want
Yeah.
the person to go away knowing that you really took the time to do your best. It's funny, I had owners that they recently renovated their kitchen, and I wanted to go in, see what it looked like, take pictures of the appliances so I can understand how they all worked and so on. And so while I was there, I was just taking some other just fun pictures of the apartment. When the owners came a few days later and they said, Gail, was it still the same company that did the cleaning? And I said, yeah. And they said, oh, well, whoever did the cleaning, the setup was perfect. There were so many nice touches. And I said, oh, and I said, well, I came to the apartment before you guys came to check out the kitchen. And they said, I thought it was you.
No, exactly. It has to be the little touch. And with your guest, one of the things to before we end this podcast would be to remember to ask them what was. You can be proactive. You don't wait for for example, if you pass through a website in order to get your bookings, don't wait for the website to send the review emails. Ask your guests how did they find the apartment. Was there something that you could change in order to make it more not livable, but like the additional thing that is missing. For example, did they miss some coffee things before just for the first day, something like that. So if you can disconnect the clients from just leaving a review, because people are going to leave reviews, and reviews can be the worst thing when a client said, okay, it was good, but so you do have to consider that and to make sure that the clients are not going to in the end to criticize like even small things, but that could be a bad thing on the website where you put your advertising on.
Yeah, definitely. We need to have constructive feedback, both the good and the bad,
Exactly.
because that's the only way we can improve and make it better for the next person.
And don't take it personally.
Yeah.
When
I,
people agree.
if it's really all bad and negative, I do take it personally. I'm a little wimpy baby for that.
Okay, so next time and for the next episode, I guess we should talk about whether you should or should not manage yourself your rentals, whether it's for vacation rentals or for classical rentals. Do you want to go into this world or not? This will be the topic on the next episode.
I think that's a great idea. Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Marie, for your time and all your great questions. It's so funny being the one answering them instead. Did you learn something, Marie?
I learned a lot. And then go for the details and do the thing the way you'd like to have them for your own. Like if you set up your places for a vacation rental for people who are going to be on vacation, just picture yourself inside the apartment and do the thing and do
Absolutely.
picture that you have a bottle of wine and what do you do if there is no wine opener?
You call Gail and you invite her over to have a drink of wine and just say, oh, can you bring a wine opener too?
Good idea. Thank you, Gail. Talk to you
Thanks,
soon.
Marie. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to Paris, A State of Mind, featuring Gail of Perfectly Paris and Marie of Loquim, both who are founding members of the SPLM. Paris, A State of Mind is produced by Paris Underground Radio. The music, Jazz in Paris, is by Media Right Productions. For more information on this show and others, go to parisundergroundradio.com.
This episode of Paris: A State of Mind was produced by Jennifer Garrity for Paris Underground Radio. For more on this show and shows like it, please visit parisundergroundradio.com.